Okay, I'm gonna go in the house, sit. We always have her sit at the doorways. And this is her routine throughout the day. Every time she comes in and out of the house, she sits, we step away from her, we step in, make sure she waits till we come back and get her. Of course, we're accentuating the fact that this is our doorway, not hers, and she's not allowed to pass through it unless we come back or unless she's next to us and we allow her to walk through with us. And even if she pulls a little bit, I'm going to slow down and tap. So you may have a lot of pulling with her. I don't know what's going to happen when she comes home with you, but if you do have that problem, you need to slow it all down, and if you have to stop at the threshold, stop and tap her and so that she slows down, just like what you just saw me do. And now we're going to do it on the inside and come out. So when she's coming out of the house, sit. We always have her sit before we open the door, because opening the door can often trigger the dog to pop up. Okay, I'm going to have her walk a little closer, sit, so you can see her, because you may not be able to see her because of the shadow in there. And she sits, we step out, she waits till I come back next to her. No, make sure she really waits. Okay. And then she wants to launch off. You have to tap her to make sure she doesn't pull. If you're by yourself, you're gonna have to do a little left turn like that to close the door. And now we're gonna go through the gate that leads out to the street, and then I'm gonna show you how we start our walk. Sit. Now we're coming out of the big gated yard that goes onto the street. We always have her sit. Okay, we open the door, sit. I'm gonna have her sit a little bit closer to the threshold so you can see. She waits, we step out, she waits. If you do this, you're not gonna have the problem with her later on just always racing through doorways, because she's so used to always waiting at gateways and curbs and all of those places that she just hasn't. She saw a person pass by on a bike just then. Nope. So if she pops up, see what I did? Just a little bit of pressure, no. She goes back, and I'm gonna do this one more time. Of course, normally I wouldn't be talking like this, so we'd be already out on the sidewalk. Nope. But make sure she really waits till you step back. It's a great exercise for her staying calm and teaching her not to rush through doorways and across curbs and all that. So, okay, she walks out with me. Another left turn. Of course, these left turns are very good to do at all times. If you have to close a gate or something, always make sure that you turn into her. If you have to go somewhere. Or if you have to go right, do a left turn to go right, and she'll always be next to you. And the most you have to do is just do a little tap, and it'll slow her down. Just like that. And if you're turning, it's tap and turn. Tap and turn. She doesn't know that you're turning, so if you didn't tap her, she could keep going and you turn into her rear end, and that wouldn't work. So you tap, it's just like tapping the brakes. You, tap and turn. That way she slows down, you end up walking right into her, the front of her right here, basically at her shoulder. And now, this is what we're doing. This is the way I take her out on the street every day. I do the boundary training at the doorway coming out, the gateway coming out. Now we're gonna do the curb. Okay, and keep filming me, because this is the way, and you're gonna follow me this way. If I'm walking her and I want her to be next to me and she wants to pull me, I'm tapping and release. Tapping and releasing. She's on the clock, so to speak, right now. So, and now you're gonna go up against that car there. And I'm walking super slow, so sit. I had to tap her a few times because she always wants to rush, but you saw how I was doing it. I was walking her. Really, in general, your biggest enemy is, let me get rid of this. This is bothering me, this piece of trash in our video. Put it over here. The tight leash is your enemy, because tension on the leash, continuous tension, is going to stress a dog out and cause more pulling. So you think you're restraining her and you're helping by choking up and making sure she can't pull you, but it actually makes her pull. That tension on the leash triggers her to pull more. But if you're doing what you see me doing, tapping and releasing, and it's so much easier for you to do as well once you get used to it, the pulling subsides, goes away over time, and she also calms down a lot. So we haven't even started our walk yet, because I stopped at the front door, the gateway, now we did the curb, and I did the walk around sit stay at the curb. Okay, we're gonna cross the street in training mode, exactly the way I was walking across or along the sidewalk, and you're gonna follow me. And then over here, once we cross the street, I'm gonna have her sit. And here's where I pat her chest and say, go, and she's free. And if I hadn't been talking to you, it would have taken all of like a minute and a half or something like that, really quickly. But so it's not this, doesn't take this long every time. It's just wait at the front door, make sure she does it the right way, walk through the yard, do it at the gate, do that little sit stay at the curb, come here, release her to be free here. And what it does is it puts her in the zone. So when you actually release her to start your walk, you have this calm dog, or at least much calmer than before, that doesn't pull you and is just like this. And then you can start your walk. And when you walk her, make sure that you're always keeping the leash loose. So you either, if she was pulling me, let's pretend she was pulling me, you're going to tap that leash. You're gonna tap it. She won't pull me. She only stays next to me now, but you're tapping and releasing. If she was pulling me, if she was out in front of me, it's tap and release, and the pulling stops, okay? If you go like this and you try to stop her from pulling by restraining her, pulling gets worse. So it's really about doing less. Less is more. And then if she's really out of control and she's just pulling you and she's not paying attention to you, come, just call her to come to you. Good. Sit. And you can do this little exercise. And I'm gonna do it right now. Okay, so a leash walking exercise. I'll walk along the sidewalk, walk about 10 feet, do a full left circle. At the end of that left circle, sit. Eye contact, this is the way you reward her when you have her sit. Straight down, good. And then, no, make sure she stays in the sit. Okay, walk another 10 feet or so. Left hand circle, full circle. See how when you turn left, it draws the dog back next to you. Sit. Good. No. Good. Make sure she stays in the sit. And then just go down the sidewalk. Nope. Make sure she always stays in the sit. Might have to put her back. Okay. And I'm going to go back this way now. Look behind us. Just turn gradually to your right. All the way the other way. To your right. All the way around. And show what's there. Gradually. And then turn back to us gradually. So if she sees a dog on the street, you see how she gets? This is what you do. Come. Call her away from that distraction. Call her away. See what's going on over there? There's a dog barking at the fence line, causing a commotion. Look at Frankie now. Frankie, right here. Come. Call her back to you. Call her away from any distraction. That come command works really well. And there's no way the leash can be tight if you're always calling her back to come to you. So always use that command with distractions out on the street. That just popped up, surprised us. I thought we'd show you what to do with that. There's a lot of distractions on the street. We're right here, and inside this yard, there's a bunch of dogs that are barking. You probably heard the barking. But in general, just call her away from something like that and keep moving, because nothing really goes well if you with a lot of dogs, if you stand there and let them stare at a situation like that or another dog that's barking at them. So call her back to come to you and keep moving on. That little leash walking exercise I was doing, I usually do it 6 or 8 times. And when you release her from that and she's done that a few times, she's always pulling less and she's always calmer. So that's a good little leash walking exercise to do when you're on the street or just even around your house in your backyard. So you see how we did that. You should do that as much as possible. Okay. Here we go. Sit. Here we are with Frankie at a big store with lots of people walking around, and undoubtedly there will be carts and funny noises and people dropping stuff. And this is where we practice now every day with her, to make sure that she can handle distractions and still focus. See how I'm rewarding her? I go back next to her, eye contact, good, straight down. You know, she has this tendency to jump up. No, That was my fault because the treat crumbled and fell into a bunch of pieces, so she wanted to get it off the ground. But if you don't, and this is with a lot of dogs, if you don't go straight down, if you pause there, she's going to jump up to try to get it. And so she has that thing where, nope. See, if I say no, she goes back. Eye contact, good. Straight down. And she's getting better about that whole prairie dog thing of standing up on her hind legs to grab stuff and jumping. But that's just what I've been doing when I reward her for a sit. And I don't reward her for every sit stay. I just reward her for tough situations like this. And there are a lot of distractions here, as you can see. People walking up from behind and from around. And she stays there, waits till I come back next to her. And I reward her. Good. See how she was really excited when we started this, but now I can move a little bit slower and she's not jumping up to get the reward as she settles into doing training right now. So basically, you saw me say sit, she sat. If she doesn't sit the first time you tell her, don't ever repeat the command. Just pull up with a little bit of pressure and her butt will hit the ground and you can release it. Stay is built into sit, so you don't have to say stay. I've never used stay. I've just taught her to wait until I come back. And when I come back, this is the way you're going to release her. You either release her to be free by patting her chest and saying go, and she's free. She goes out in front of you. Or you can pat your leg and say okay, like that, and she'll walk with you. And you saw earlier in this little sit clip, sit, you saw earlier that she got up and I said no and she went back. And that's, as you practice this, she's going to get better and better at that. So you never have to say SIT a second time. If she makes a mistake in a sit stay, like breaks out of a sit before I release her, I can now say, like from a distance, no, and she'll go back. So if you continue to practice that, she'll do it for you as well. But the way it started was she would get up and I'd say no, and I'd apply the pressure. She'd go back. But now I can just say no, and she'll put herself back, like you saw just a couple of moments ago. So the other way, I said already okay, and she walked with me, and I put her back into a sit. The other way to release her out of a sit stay is with your right hand. She's on your left, of course. You go back next to her. She's on your left with your right hand, pat her chest and say go, and she's free. Of course, when you let her be free, come. Good. When you let her be free.
Can I say hi?
Oh, we're actually filming this right now.
Oh.
Then she's free to go and do whatever she wants. That means she's off the clock, and that's how we release her from the sit. Down. Good. And you can see with me now, I don't have to use my foot to help her. She'll just go straight down. Good. You always reward her just as if you're doing that mat exercise, which is also on this video. But except she's in a real life situation and there is no mat. And the reason that she's so good at doing this really anywhere in public where I practice it is because from day one, when she first started coming to me, I was doing the mat exercise in my house, in my yard, with no distractions, and then I gradually, integrated her into higher and higher levels of distractions over time, so she could do it out in public. But that mat exercise, good, has really helped. She's very jumpy. She would always have a problem with popping up out of her down stay or sit stay. And you see she still might do that if she's excited like she is here, but she'll put herself back, as you saw. So when you're rewarding her, when you're out in public, if you want to practice like this, she gets up, you say no, but she was going to put herself back anyway. You say no, and then to reward her, just make sure she really waits. See how she's waiting? Good. No. She gets very excited when you're delivering the reward to her. But she will stay when you step away from her. She'll stay when you walk around her, walk away from her. So it's just a matter of you continuing to practice with her, making sure that if she pops up before you released her, you just say no and she'll go back. What helps sometimes is no, like that. So you pivot on your right foot and your left foot just eases her down. You won't even have to really put any pressure on the leash. Just your foot doing that will make her go back. You can also, you can apply pressure to the leash or something like that, and she will not come out of that stay. Good. And the more she starts to calm down, the less that she'll actually be popping up, as you can see here. But you practice this anywhere, your house, out in your backyard, any place where you have some space, where somebody, out of the way where people aren't going to step on her or run over her with carts or whatever. And it's a great thing to do, because the more different places you practice with her like this, the better she's going to get. Every time you practice in front of the store, on the sidewalk somewhere at a corner in your neighborhood, in your house, in your kitchen, in your living room, in your backyard, the more different places she practices this behavior, where no matter what happens around her, she waits to be released, the more she's going to generalize, the better she's going to get that concept of she does this with you anytime, any place, anywhere, anytime. And I said that already. Any kind of a situation, no matter what you say, down, it's a down stay, that's it. And we're going to release her in a minute. Good. The only way, and she knows this, the only way that she ever gets up, nope. She might jump the gun like that, so just say no and put her back. But be really strict on this, set the bar high. She only gets released from a downstay when you come back next to her. You say, okay, and then have her sit. Always have her sit when you get her out of a downstay, and you release her from a calm sit stay, because we can reinforce a calm sit stay or a calm release from a sit stay a lot easier than we can from a down. So she's sitting, see how she's waiting, go. Now she's free. Don't release her straight out of a down, because what dogs tend to do is get really excited. They bounce up out of a down, and they're all excited, and it kind of destroys some of that calmness we're trying to gradually instill in her, so that over time she's not such a hyper little Frenchie. But that's the way she naturally is, so she's never going to be super mellow until she gets really old, of course, but we can still practice her with her being calm in these situations as much as possible, and it will make a difference, and you'll see that over time she's way calmer than she was before. Keep doing things like this. Okay, so here's a greeting routine with somebody that just wants to say hi to her. So this is the way we do it. We have her sit, we step away from her, we give the person a little treat that he's going to give her when she comes over, and you can pet her with the other hand, give her the treat with the one, and then she waits till I come back next to her. I say, go say hi. She gets a treat, she gets petted, and you see I call her back to me so often that she'll just go say hi to somebody.
Just automatically come back.
But let's see if we can get her to stay a little bit longer this time. Nope. So she has to wait.
24 minutes.
It's all about waiting in a sit stay. See, there's a lot going on around here, so we have to go easy on her because there's so much going on. She's doing actually really well. So she's in a sit stay. The new person gets a treat. She waits till I come back to her. I say, nope, make sure you're not restraining her. She's really waiting till you say, go say hi. She gets a treat. Come. I just called her before she came back to me. We'll do it one more time. Sit. And this really helps you. It teaches her the sit stay and the recall, because we're saying, come, and also it's the release to go say hi, which is a command. To go, that's a command. Come, and then we practice the come like that. And so if she ever is out of control with somebody, maybe it's a little kid or anybody, you have your come command, you call her right back to you, and she's got it. It's like a reflex to her. So now we're just going to say sit, and we're going to go. Let her go over, because I know this man wants to pet her a little bit more. It's okay. It's okay. You get petted.
Baby dog.
She gets very excited around new people.
Yes.
And if she jumps on you like that because she's so excited, you just ignore it and she'll stop. Let's say that the jumping got really. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's say the jumping got out of control. If you're out in public like this where there's so much going on, stay calm. Come. Call her to you. Sit. Call her into a command like this. Sit. And no matter how stressful the situation is and how much is going on around her, you just make sure that you stick with it and make sure she really sits like that. And she cannot possibly be out of control if she's working for you. So you're out in public like this, you need to get control over her, call her to come to you, have her do a sit. Or you could also do, for example, you could do a downstay, which we'll show you in a minute. Okay. Sit. So we walk her up to the mat, we have her sit. She's on our left, so with our right hand we're going to pat her chest. Make sure she doesn't jump the gun. You're not ever restraining her, but if she does kind of anticipate what you're going to do and try to jump the gun, just tap her like that and she'll go back. Pat her chest and say, go to your mat, walk over with her and say, down. Now, this is a really great little exercise to do every day. I do it for about 5 minutes a day with her now. No, make sure she doesn't touch your hand when you reward her. You place the treat on the mat. Good. And then when you withdraw, she takes it off the mat. And she's very fast, and she is your typical hyper little Frenchie. But these types of exercises over time will calm her down because, for example, when I do this and I place the reward on the mat and she nope. She doesn't get the reward unless she exerts self-control and wait. See how she's waiting? Good. Now that was a little bit close. So I think with her, and watch what I'm going to do, I'm just going to lean down with both hands. Nope. I'm just going to scoot her back, down. And then I'm going to try just having a little bit more distance between her and the treat when I set it there. That's better. She needs to wait about 4 or 5 inches away. Good. She has to think. She has to be following the rules of the game, so to speak, in order to do that. And every time that she pauses and is focused like that, she's using her brain. She's thinking, and that is the antidote to the out of control, insane hyperness that all these Frenchies have sometimes. Good. And see how I just swing in like this when I reward her? It's not like this, like that, or overextending yourself. It's just really casual. You just walk up to her. You have the treat in your right hand. That's the way I do it. And you swing in at her level like this. On the mat, no. She gets too close to you, no. You can even tap her nose a little bit with the back of your hand. Good. And I'll set my timer for 5 minutes and just do something like this for 5 minutes. The first thing you do is you want to do the walk around downstay like you saw me doing already. You can pull on the leash to test her solidity. Now, if I walk behind here, you should go that way so you can show me, right? If she gets off the mat, you can just walk into her if she kind of edges off the mat and she'll back up and go back to where you want her to be. That's one way to do it. Let's see what else I can do. I'm going to drop the leash, and we're in a fenced yard, so it's safe to walk around. So that means that you would kind of come this way so that these don't get in the way, right? Okay, so I'm going to walk over here and show her though. So you can do a lot of things. Walk farther away, for example, like I just did. Good. Always rewarding her the same way. No matter what you do, no matter where you go, you always come back. It's a calm and steady reward of the treat, release of the treat. You can like walk, do big circles around her like that. There's all kinds of things you can do, of course. But she always has to stay there. You always come back and reward her the same way from in front of her, calmly, good. And if she ever makes a mistake, no. So if she gets up before you release her, you can say no and just put her back. And she might itch herself because when she's trying to focus, it's a nervous thing. She'll always itch herself when she's having problems focusing. I'm going to try to do something that makes her make a mistake, okay? So I'm going to show you how to fix a mistake. When you're doing something that she may have a problem with, it's okay to remind her what you want her to keep doing. So I'm going to leave the yard through these two gates, but before I do, I'm going to remind her, down. And this is tough for a lot of dogs to do. I'm going to disappear outside here. Can't see me anymore. I heard her get up. So if she makes a mistake, and you're practicing something advanced like this, you're going to say no. And you're going to stay calm, and you're going to take the leash, and you're going to gently but firmly lead her back to the mat, and you're going to reset her, put her back, and then you're going to, no treat, because she didn't do it correctly, so there's no reward. Put her back and try it again. Down. Wow, look at that. So just one mistake, I reset her, and she had to double down because she knows how this game goes. It's just that I've never practiced that with her before. So when she made a mistake and I put her back, she realized, oh, I have to stay here because that's another test. And then I'm going to give her a double reward. The piece is twice as big. Good. Forward. Nope. Doing it successfully. That's her big issue, and it always has been from day one. Out of a sit, stay, or a down, you give her the treat, she pops up, and it's so common because dogs are used to getting treats and then they pop up because nobody's practicing the stay. So she still has it, but you see what she does. She'll get up, but she'll go right back, and it's 1,000% better than it was. So you keep on doing exactly what you see me doing here, and make sure that she does stay there. So you watch her. If she pops up, you have to put her back like that. But she'll get better and better at that over time. So that would be the way that you'd fix a problem, something that she has a problem focusing, staying in a down or sit stay when you're going somewhere, or maybe closing a door. Who knows what it would be? There's a million things you could practice with, but you reset her and do it again. And let's say that she was really having a problem with that, for example, and she made like 3 mistakes in a row. Well, you have to then you have to make it a little easier so she can have a success. So maybe I just would have gone through the first gate, come back and rewarded. Gone through the first gate the second time, opened the gate but not disappeared, come back and rewarded. Kind of broken up the difficult part into 3 different parts and had her just have a success with each little part of it. And then do the last part of going outside and closing the gate behind me. And that's the way I get through all these problems. And she probably would have been able to do it then. So if something's too hard for her, you break it up into sections so that you can have successes and you can reward her. And if something is just way too hard for her, maybe you are doing it too soon. It's too much too soon. So always end a session like this on a success, but that means you would have to do some simple things to get her back on track, have a few successes, and then don't try that difficult thing for like a week or so. Practice other easier things. She's itching because she's nervous. Nope. And then come back to that difficult thing like a week later, and most likely she'll be able to do it then. So when you're going to release her, it's just like a downstay out in public. It's the same thing. She waits till you come back next to her, you pat your leg and say, okay. You lead her up out of the down, you say sit, and then you always release her from a calm sit stay. With your right hand, you're going to pat her chest and say, go. And she's free. You're always going to pick up this mat because it's not a doggy bed. It's only whatever mat you're going to use for training. It doesn't have to be this one, but it could be a bath mat or something like that. It's only for training. You put it down, you go get her, she's on a leash, you allow her to go on. You allow her to come off, you pick it up before she can run over there and plop down on it because they all want to hang out on it. This is not for wrestling, relaxation, and fun. This is only for work. That makes it more powerful when you do the exercise on this one specific piece of fabric. They're triggered to do only what you practice on this. So no training on doggy beds because that's a free time place, and no free time on one of this because the work mat is just that. It's only for the practicing the downstay and focus exercises. Okay, sit. Always have her sit before you put her in the crate. She She has to sit and wait. You open the door. She loves your crate, so she's going to want to run in there. Nope. If she pops up before you release her, you say no. Gently but firmly put her back. See, all I did was just apply a little tiny bit of pressure and she went back. So you open the crate door. Nope. Now she's going to wait. You're never restraining her, so you're making sure this is real sit-stay. Go, and you can send her in. Oh, go that way, silly. There you go. And she always gets a treat when she goes in, turns around. I always give her a treat. That's why she loves to be in her crate. All my staff, we all do the same thing. You send her in, she waits to go in, and she goes in, she turns around, she gets a treat, and then we take off this little collar when she's in there, and one more treat. See how she won't come out unless she's allowed to come out. One more treat while we close the door. This little training collar gets hung on her door like this. That way it doesn't get tangled up in itself. It's the simplest way to keep it, place to keep it when she's in the crate. You always want to take it off when she's in the crate. Not that she couldn't be wearing it throughout the day for a while, but definitely always take it off overnight. Hang it there on the door. She eats in her crate. All good things in her mind happen in her crate. She gets her bones and chewies there. She, everything good. It's all positive stuff. Anytime hands come in there to take her, put her in, or take off her collar, or take her out, it's always coming with a gift, treat, and then we do what we're going to do. That's why she's always happy to see the hands coming in towards her. And this is another form of boundary training. You saw us do boundaries at the doorway, at the gateway, at the curb. This is one of the most important boundaries. This is her den. Dogs are naturally den animals, so this is her den. This is where her little private place where she sleeps. By the way, she's been sleeping overnight here in the crate, and put a little blanket in there, make it really comfortable for her. That's how we've been using the crate here. If I'm going to take her out of the crate, I'm just going to hook up this leash first to the collar, so you're all ready to go. This little training collar, it always gets hooked up to the funny looking buckle, not the ring here. I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's just a spacer, this one right there. So make sure it's not twisted, so you can let it hang there, and it should go like this. And this is like power steering on your dog. It's not supposed to cause pain. You saw how I use it throughout the videos. Tap and release, tap and release. There's no corrections. I've never corrected her once. I just practice the appropriate behavior in certain situations, and call her away from inappropriate behaviors and practice the appropriate response to a situation. So the corrections are very, very rare in dog training, I think. Now they should be. So you see the way I've been doing things. This is not to cause pain, but it does close with the same pressure all the way around. So it's the same amount of pressure on the back of her neck as the front. That's why it's so much easier for you to control her with the little taps, and it's so much better than a regular collar that it's going to be mostly just choking her there. So that's why we use it. We don't use it for all the dogs, but for a lot of dogs, especially dogs that pull, that are excited like that, it really helps the owner handle the dog when the dog comes home. And she's really excited right now, so I'm gonna meet her with a treat as I open the door. Good, because I don't want her racing out. See how she's waiting? She's waiting for me to reach in. I'm just gonna hook up this collar, put it on her. It's always the highest up, the collar that's highest up right under her ears. All the other collars are down below, that training collar. Now this little exercise that I do when I bring her out of the crate is just where I teach her to wait there, and as I stand back, good, I'm gonna give her a treat as I stand back to practice her waiting at this boundary. No. If she tries to come out, you say no. And as you step away and she stays there, good. Step farther away, as long as she waits. Good. You can also do no and do a little kind of like a token slam like that too if you're close enough. But you want her to really respect this boundary. That's her place inside, and you don't do any training when she's inside. That's her free time place, but you do control her access in and out of her favorite place, her den. And that's one more treat for her. Good. And she did this exercise really well. She's waiting to be allowed to come out. You just pat your leg and say, okay, and she'll come out. And then you always close the door of this crate, because if she's allowed to just run in and out at will, then you squander your power of controlling the boundary. This little simple little way to use the crate really helps all the other aspects of this training. It all adds up together. Then this, if you're controlling her access in and out of her den where she eats and sleeps and gets treats, then in her mind you must be more important in her life than before. So it may seem like a little thing to do it this way, but it really helps the overall project of changing her perception of who you are, so she listens to you more, and it calms down. If she thinks that somebody else is in charge of her life, by doing all these little things, by controlling her, by giving her all the structure in her life, then she's going to calm down, feel safer, be a lot easier to manage and handle in your household. Okay.